Hello, spider friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of This Is Why I Hate You by Onision, a dramatic reading. I'm not live streaming this today because I'm totally out of data and my Wi-Fi connection is really spotty. So that's why I tend to live stream over Wi-Fi. Over data than actually record and then upload, because that takes usually 3 hours. We're up to chapter 17. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. Chapter 17, Unfriendly Fire. I started another entry, despite it being much a continuation of the last, because there's so much to tell about what's been going on. So the other trainees heard screaming in the large, near-empty room we were training in. They walked in casually, as if nothing was wrong, until they realised the person screaming on the floor was their fellow trainer. Martinez still had the baton jammed in his face, while he grabbed his throbbing, pain-soaked foot. Pain-soaked is not an expression that exists. He suffered quite a bit, it seemed. Good. Most of his screaming was incoherent. Something I could clearly understand him saying was, "He's a psycho. He's psycho." I stood at parade rest with my own blood running down my face as the trainers pulled the red man's suit off Martinez. One of the other sergeants ordered a student standing behind me to call on the base hospital and tell them to send an ambulance. The very same sergeant then instructed the trainees to grab me and forced me to sit down in the corner of the room. None of the trainees actually followed this order. They were all afraid of me. I chimed in, "It's okay, I'll sit down on my own," and walked over to a nearby seat. The ambulance workers lifted up the now half-red man-suited Martinez and hauled him into their vehicle rather quickly. The older sergeant ordered all the other trainees to make sure he didn't go anywhere and left another sergeant behind with us as well. He then went back to the office and slammed the door. After only a few moments of my fellow trainees staring at me like I was a nuclear bomb about to go off, the sergeant came back out of his office with handcuffs in his hand. In a stern voice he said, "Hands on the wall, feet spread, airman." I complied with his order without delay, and he proceeded handcuffing me, and quickly after he brought me to a cell within the main squadron building. In the cell I sat without shoes on my BDU top for a few hours. Don't know what BDU means still, because he hasn't explained it. Eventually the commander of the squadron approached my cell. I immediately stood at attention as he asked, "Are you a psycho troop?" The question was painfully familiar. I replied, still at attention, I am whatever the military wants me to be, Colonel Hoss." Colonel Hoss replied, "The military does not want you to break the ankles of other airmen. That much should be common sense, troop." I replied, "Yes, sir." The colonel continued, "It's about 4 a.m. and the trainers don't want you to finish the course. In fact, your fellow trainees don't seem to want you back either. That being said, you will now return to your room for the remainder of this week. You will report to the base therapist office at 1000 hours every day till they release you. Got it, troop?" And I just need to show you how terribly this is written. He's written the number 10, then the word 100. Use one or the other. And then he's written every day instead of every day. So just terrible writing. I replied, "Understood, sir," and saluted as he walked away. As the colonel walked away, "Why do you repeat yourself so much, Gregory?" As the colonel walked away, he yelled, "Jesus Christ, troop." I guess he never met an airman like me. The thing is, he couldn't really punish me for injuring someone in a red suit man during a training exercise of that nature. Yes, he could. You are not supposed to break your trainer's ankle, you idiot. It just doesn't look right on paperwork to reprimand a person for being too efficient of a fighter when they're in the military. You're in the Air Force! Especially when it against a man in a padded suit. Obviously, I knew this. The Colonel knew this. But there's a limit. Maybe I would find out what their limit was if the opportunity came up again. Regardless, I finished my last day of sitting up at a therapist's office a few days ago, and they brought up my father a lot, saying I was holding back information from them. He was the root of all my problems. I've got the feeling this happened, like, not beating up a trainer, but Greg went to therapy in the military, and they were like, you've got daddy issues, yo. My father was none of their business. He was dead to me, and that's all I had to say to these strangers about it. They didn't even know my mother had died. Maybe if they did, they wouldn't assume I was such a generic head case. Yes, you are, Greg. I would have been more forthcoming with my personal information, but I didn't trust them. Why would I? Psychiatrists on my base are trained by the military on how to deal with crazy people, right? In other words, drones programmed by other machines to deal with humans. No thanks. No, that's not how psychiatry works. Have you been taking lessons from Tom Cruise? Fortunately, I heard the head doctors cleared me for returning to duty since then. I have no interest in being discharged from the military anytime soon, so long as living with my father remains the alternative. It would be especially unreasonable if my discharge would result of anyone thinking I'm too violent to be enlisted. Is that not what we're here for? No! No! The military primarily is just a weapon. Plain and simple. Did they really expect every airman to go through combat training to be unable to destroy the man hiding behind the red man's suit? We're only allowed to be killers and psychopaths when they put their stamp of approval on it, is that right? Otherwise, there's something wrong with us. Well, there's definitely something wrong with you, Greg, but, yes, that's how it works. I'm sure I'll be subjected to plenty more faulty military logic as time passes. Oh, God. Yes, if you join the military, that does not mean that you could just go around beating people up. That does not give you a carte blanche license. You are not James Bond. You are Gregory, man of strange things. Oh, Lord. Right, I want to thank you very much for tuning in to this dramatic reading. Please remember to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.